In the automotive segment, there are many different areas and arenas, and one of them is the insurance arena. And we have selected the top insurance agent for Northern Nevada to advise and educate our consumers. There's so many technical facets of the insurance industry. It's just an honor to have as our spokesperson for the insurance industry, the finest insurance agent that we know of in our community, Melissa Nicholas, who represents Farmers Insurance. Melissa, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Mitch. How are you this morning?
Fantastic. It's just such a joy to have you a part of what we're up to and the educational value of what you're providing our community. I know that on one of your previous shows, you talked about underinsured, and I received numerous contacts saying that people really didn't realize some of the risks that they were putting themselves at, and we really appreciate you taking the time to educate our community on these. Let's, if you would, just a little history about who you are in our community, because you're not just an insurance agent. I think you're an extraordinary part of our community, and I like sharing that value with our listeners.
Okay, yeah, Mitch, I am involved in several nonprofit organizations in the community as well. I'm involved in ACCEPT, which does HIV and AIDS prevention training, as well as drug and alcohol abuse, financial planning, and parenting classes, as well as many other programs. Currently working on a show and shine Cars for Kids that will be coming up here in a couple months to benefit the Mount Rose Ski Program. And there are several others as well in terms of domestic violence. Is one of them also. And
then if that wasn't enough, then on top of that, you run an insurance agency with multiple different lines of insurance to offer our community. You are also on the board of a couple of our local car clubs.
Yes, that is correct. I'm the vice president of the BMW Club, as well as one of the co-chairs of the Mini Cooper Club.
I mean, these are just not small time commitments. It's just extraordinary the efforts that you take to be involved in our community and our automotive community as well. We appreciate that. Let's talk today about some of the commercial lines. I think there's a lot of information here, so I'll let you just take over and share some of the information and knowledge base about commercial insurance that people may or may not be aware of, or that their policy may or may not have currently.
Okay, definitely. Pretty much there's farmers can write just about every line of insurance. If for some reason it's not something that Farmers Insurance is able to write, I can take it to an outside carrier as well. The main thing, though, on the commercial lines that we are seeing in the insurance industry right now is that a lot of people are currently underinsured in terms of their liability limits, as well as their workers' comp policies. A lot of businesses right now, due to the economy, are trying to cut back on their costs, and unfortunately, they're doing that with their insurance as well in terms of lowering coverages. That is one thing really that nobody would want to be doing with their insurance policies, whether it's your home or auto or your business policies. That is the one thing that does protect all of the assets that you currently have.
I'm really surprised to hear that transfers over into the commercial lines, because we had the conversation before about how people are underinsured in the automotive lines and how they put everything that they own and their life and their future and their children's education at risk.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's carrying over to the commercial lines policies as well at this point.
And now they're putting their businesses at risk. There are some. Let's delve into the commercial lines a little bit more about some of the hired non-owned autos and employment practices, liability, et cetera.
Okay. The hired non-owned auto coverage is a coverage that a lot of carriers do not offer automatically or have on their policies. And what that does is, say, for instance, you have an employee running an errand for the business. Say they're taking a bank deposit for you, or they have to drop off some paperwork to another office, or even just simply picking up lunch for the office. If that individual was in an accident, the business is legally liable at that point. Without this coverage on your policy, you do not have coverage under your normal commercial policies for that accident, and therefore the business owner or business would be legally liable out of pocket for any damages from that accident.
So even if an employee is going to go to lunch and they're going to get the logging out of the clock, for an example, and they hop into their car, but while they're there, they're bringing back lunch for a couple of other people, there's still liability on the business.
That's correct.
And let's talk about some of these employment practices liability coverages as well.
What employment practices liability is it is coverage that protects the business owners and the businesses against things such as wrongful termination, sexual harassment, discrimination, Negligent promotion or retention.
Explain that one for our listeners, because you go over that one a little fast there, and I'm not sure that people understand what negligent promotion or negligent retention would mean.
What that would mean is if there were multiple people that had applied for a job promotion, and for some reason the owner or the manager doing the promoting liked one particular employee over another for reasons outside of work, for instance, and decided to promote that person over somebody that actually had better skills, better knowledge, and better training for the position.
Okay, and then keep going. And then the negligent retention would be pretty similar then, retaining somebody over somebody else.
Correct.
Okay, go on. What other things are in the employee practices liability protection?
It also covers slander, defamation, libel, and invasion of privacy.
And I saw something, too, about wrongful refusal to hire. Explain that. I mean, they think we're in a right-to-work state, aren't we?
We are. However, if you have hiring, as a business has a hiring practice that are found to be discriminatory against certain populations of individuals, the business can't be taken to court for that.
Now, Farmers has some additional optional coverages, and if you would take some time and share some of those commercial lines coverages as well, and the increased coverages. Yeah,
the most important increased coverage that Farmers offers under the employment practices liability would be the third-party discrimination. And that would be a claim brought against the business by a non-employee, such as by a customer or a supplier, for the same reasons I had mentioned above, such as sexual harassment being a big one, and discrimination, say against that employee against a customer by an employee. So if there's an instance where a customer overhears a joke that an employee says and the customer does not like the joke and feels discriminated by it, and that customer decides to sue the business, these extra coverages then would provide coverage for the business in terms of any suit brought against them.
And then there's punitive damage coverages as well. And please start by sharing what the punitive side of damage awards are.
On the business, I mean, it can be, I've seen cases where the businesses actually have had to shut their doors because the damages awarded by the court were so high that it sent businesses into bankruptcy. There's other instances where employees have had to be let go just because businesses could no longer do payroll due to the liability damages against the business from a comment made by an employee to a customer.
Wow. And the punitive damage side would be where somebody does something so flagrantly wrong that the court wants to penalize them above and beyond the actual damages. Is that correct? And that these are the awards that toll into the potential millions that have nothing to do. It could be a $5,000 claim, but the court wants to impose a fine hefty enough to prevent the further violation of this particular type of act. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And those damages can be horrific. And so I wonder what percentage of businesses do you think are lacking that coverage right now?
In terms of the EPLI, my best guess and what I have seen is anywhere from 75 to 80%, if not higher. And for the punitive damage and third-party discrimination, of those that have the coverage, there are maybe 10 or 12% that actually have that additional higher coverage limit for those coverages.
And as an agent, do you come in and provide the business with some education information and packages that will help them educate their employee and staff to also not just insure them, but prevent them from these potential liability exposures?
Yes, definitely. Farmers actually offers a free risk management support system through an online website, and that provides training materials for the employees as well as examples of suits that have happened in the past specific to certain types of businesses. It also gives you a knowledge vault, basically, where it lists the major websites for employment registration. There's human resources information, legal representatives that you can ask questions to as well.
And Melissa, also, if you would take a moment, and I know that you mentioned when you first came onto the show that as an agent that you have a plethora of different coverages that are provided through farmers of types of policies you can write, and then if there's something that's not listed in that, that you also can write outside lines. But would you take a moment? You provided me a list, and it's just kind of so extensive. I'd like you to take a minute and share the different types of lines of business that are written by Farmers Insurance for our listeners that may have some needs for these other items from you.
Okay, yeah. Farmers does auto repair and service shops, different types of automotive trade businesses, business autos. We can write habitational, which would be any such as rental properties that a consumer may have, contractors. We can do hospitality, which would be your hotel and motels, manufacturing, restaurants, wholesale distribution, as well as your general office buildings, just general retail and service locations, such as your stores in the mall or mini marts, various things like that. And
I saw some other things in there, inland marines and flood, builder's risk, surety bonds for businesses, et cetera. Just, any of your insurance needs, this is our recommendation. This is not just an insurance agent. This is a quality part of our community, somebody who's devoted their life to many of our local causes, worthy of your consideration. If you're not, thoroughly pleased with your present insurance agent, we recommend you pick up the phone and call her immediately. Melissa, how would they get a hold of you?
I can be reached at my office at 775-829-0626.
And that's Melissa Nicholas with Farmers Insurance. Again, you can find her on our preferred businesses page of our website, thecarbuyeradvisor.com. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us again today, and we'll hope to have you back here again real soon.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Have a great day.
Thank you.